Hello. For those of you who don't know me already, my name is B.F. Skinner. I am a writer, inventor, and psychologist. I come from humble beginnings in a town called Susquehanna in Pennsylvania. My father was a lawyer, and my mother was a housewife. I would consider my upbringing in my home as warm and stable because I never physically got punished by my parents, but they never missed an opportunity to let me know what would happen to me if I developed a criminal mind, especially from my father, the lawyer. My town was small, so I did not have much to do other than swim in creeks and roam the hills of Susquehanna. This led me to inventing many things to occupy my time. For example, I built rafts, slingshots, a steam cannon so I could shoot potatoes from, and a device that could separate ripe and green elderberries so I can sell to my neighbors. I also really liked school, and my teacher, Miss Graves, had a major influence in my life. She was my English teacher, and she had a big influence on my decision to pursue writing in college. I attended Hamilton College and earned my degree in English literature. My experience at Hamilton College was not a great one because I never truly fit in. After my years at Hamilton was done, I pursued my writing career to no avail. I wrote aimless articles for a local newspaper and wrote a book that had no success. After my attempt as a writer failed, I traveled to New York and found a job at a bookstore. Here is where I discover books written by John Watson and Pavlov. I was particularly interested in these two because of their viewpoints on certain subjects. I was interested in Pavlov because of his theories on animal behavior, and I was interested in Watson for his standpoint on behaviorism. My newfound interest on animal and human behavior led me to apply to Harvard University on the recommendation of the president at Hamilton College. Once accepted to Harvard, it would essentially become my home away from home. My first couple of years at Harvard, I surrounded myself with psychology and physiology. The books, the colleagues, and the professors that piqued my interest and stimulated my mind. After I finished my thesis on reflexes, I accepted a fellowship at Harvard where I would spend most of my time in the laboratory working on my theories. It was at this point where I met W.J. Crozier, a physiology professor, who fully supported me in my endeavors in the field of psychology. After I received my degree, he put my name in a fellowship which would keep me at Harvard for 5 more years. He even gave me my own laboratory where I can work on my experimental theories. During my fellowship, I created the Skinner box, which was a box in where I kept my study subject, usually a rat or a pigeon, some sort of animal. This is where I coined the term operant conditioning. In operant conditioning, the behavior or actions of an animal or person is affected by its consequences of the environment. For example, in my experiments, I placed a hungry rat in the Skinner box with a lever that, when pressed down, releases food into a tray for the rat. This behavior is now strengthened, and the rat will continue to do this as long as food is dispensed. In order to stop this behavior, I stopped having food being dispensed when the rat pressed the lever. Now the rat noticed and eventually stopped pressing the lever, and this is what I call extinguished behavior. Now, with the rat getting the food when the lever is pressed is an example of positive reinforcement. Can we also strengthen behavior with a negative reinforcer? Yes. And that's what I did. Only this time, when the rat was in the box, I turned on an electric current which was not harmful to the rat, but rather caused some discomfort for the rat. Eventually, it learned to go to the lever to turn it off so the current wouldn't affect it anymore. So with the negative reinforcer being the shock, I strengthened a behavior which was hitting the lever because it turned off the shock. Now that we got the desired behavior we are looking for, how do we keep that behavior? Well, it's quite simple. With schedules of reinforcement, these reinforcements will maintain a certain behavior, and there are 4 ways of doing this. First is a fixed interval. This is when the behavior will be reinforced only after a certain time, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and so on. Second is variable interval, and this is when the rat will be reinforced at an unpredictable time has passed. It could be 1 minute, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 30 minutes. The third one is called fixed ratio, and it has to do with a certain number of responses in order for a reinforcement. For example, every 10 lever presses, every 20 lever presses, every 30 lever presses will present food in the bowl. The last one is what I call variable ratio. And during the schedule, the rat will be reinforced after an unpredictable number of times. During the schedule, the rat will press the lever longer and faster because of the unpredictability of the reward, and therefore the behavior is harder to extinguish. In fact, I invented the teaching machine based on these principles. These teaching machines were supposed to teach kids based on performance. If performance increased, the help they received decreased, and vice versa. These machines got popular, but did not last long due to deduction issues. Some people might say I was ahead of my time because the technology was not present yet. Now with the modern computer, you can see programs that follow this design. I also invented the baby tender, which was a request by my wife Yvonne. It was supposed to be a safer crib than the wooden ones that were in production. But this baby tender got confused with my other invention, the Skinner box, so therefore never made it out of our house. Not to toot my own horn, but between these inventions and my theories of behaviorism, I became very popular between 1950s and the 1980s. Appearing on many television shows and speaking at different universities explaining what behaviorism is. Harvard would eventually invite me back to become a chair in the psychology department. At Harvard, I will spend the rest of my life and career here dedicating my life to psychology. I received many awards for my contributions, many from the APA, including the Distinguished Scientific Contribution Award, Edward Lee Thorndike Award, and the Outstanding Lifetime Contribution to Psychology Award, which is selected by the APA president. I was the first person in history to receive this award, and every year since, the APA president has selected one person who has made a significant contribution to psychology. Today, you can see my theories of behaviorism still being used this present day. Through the 20 books and over 200 articles I wrote, students, teachers, psychologists, and businesses around the world still study, teach, and implement operant conditioning and schedules of reinforcement. For example, an animal trainer wanting to train a dog to sit, or a teacher wants to reinforce good behaviors for the students, they would use positive reinforcement to shape their behavior. You can also see it in entertainment, such as slot machines at a casino and video games, which reward people based on ratio and interval schedules in order for the consumer to play more. Businesses also use my theories to get their employees to work harder through extra pay or bonuses. So, although behaviorism is not as popular as it once was, it still lives on today. And that's all I have to say about myself. I hope you learn a lot about me, and I hope you continue studying psychology. Thank you.